Okay, good morning Key Stage 2. It's Mr. Tang here with a one-off virtual assembly on racism. I can't claim credit for this wonderful PowerPoint. I found it on TES, but I thought it was important today that we had a talk about what's happening right now in the world and racism. It's a shame that we can't do it face to face, but obviously the ongoing pandemic is again causing us some issues. We'll do so much work on this when we get back, but for the time being I think it's important right now that we have a quick chat about what's going on. There are many differences between people. One difference is the colour of our skin. It's important to make sure that all people are treated fairly, and that's why lots of people all over the country and all over the world are part of the Black Lives Matter movement. Racism. Racism is when you treat someone differently and unfairly because of the colour of their skin, or that they are from a different country, or that their culture is different. Racism and racist bullying can include being called names, having your belongings damaged, physical attacks, being left out, people making assumptions about you because of your skin colour, race or culture, people thinking things about you because of how you look. It's being made to feel like you have to change how you look. So dressing or looking or behaving in a certain way, you feel like you have to do it. Racist jokes, telling jokes about skin colour, nationality, race or culture, even if you think it's funny. Jokes about race and differences are not funny, and that's racism. Everybody is important, and everybody has the right to be safe and to be happy. 4 things to remember. It's illegal to treat someone differently or unfairly because of their race or the colour of their skin. 2. Racism and racial bullying are wrong, even if the person doesn't realise they're doing it. Now that's an important point. You can say, oh, I didn't know I was being racist. Well, you're still being racist. You could say that my intentions were good, but of course, that's still racism. If someone commits a crime against you because of your race, religion or culture, that is a hate crime. You're not alone, and there are ways to get support. Now, one part of this is that if you see racism, if you encounter racism, you have a responsibility to stand up and say to that person, no, you are being racist, and that's not okay. And that can be hard, but you have to do that. It's your responsibility to stand up. Where is racism? Racism is all over the world and it must be stopped. Sometimes people in power can be racist, people in the police or the government. Sometimes they use their power to treat people unfairly. This is an important picture with an important idea. Racism isn't born, it's taught. So I spoke to Year 6 last week about this. I've got 2 sons, as you know. Right now they're not racist. They're very little. But they might grow up to be racist if I choose to teach them to be racist. Children aren't born racist. They're not born with certain stereotypes or prejudice in their mind. But they have those ideas thrust upon them as they grow up. No one is born racism. No one is born racist. What is the Black Lives Matter movement? Black Lives Matter is an organisation in America, Canada and England, created in 2013. Their mission is to end violence and unfair treatment towards black communities. This organisation holds events to educate and inform people of what happens in their communities. Why is it so important now? Now you may have seen this in the news. Right now the whole world is speaking out against racism and the unfair treatment of black people, especially George Floyd, who died on the 25th of May. What happened to Mr. Floyd has yet again raised the issue of racism in America and the unfair treatment that many African American communities feel they face in the America from those in power. There's protests all over the world, including protests in the UK. Sadly, people are also treated unfairly in England too, as well as many other countries across the globe. Peaceful protests have happened all across the UK for the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, I'm a big Star Wars guy. As a Star Wars point, Star Wars actor John Boyega protested in London. John Boyega's message: now is the time. Black lives have always mattered. Black lives have always been important. Black lives have always meant something. Lucasfilm, that's the company that makes Star Wars movies, supports John Boyega. The evil that is racism must stop. we will commit to being part of the change that is long overdue in the world. John Boyega, you are our hero. He's my hero as well. Someone that's standing up and saying that right now it's not okay. And we've tolerated it for too long, and people need to speak up and say that racism is not okay and take a firm stance against it. Now this is a really important story that I think will show people what it's like in someone else's shoes. I think what is quite difficult sometimes is picturing what it must be like for someone on a different skin colour. It must be very difficult picturing yourself as that person. So here's a little story that might help with that. This is a story from Shola Richards walking with his daughter and dog. Twice a day I walk my dog Ace around my neighbourhood with one or both of my girls. I know that doesn't seem noteworthy, but here's something that I must admit. I would be scared to take these walks without my girls and my dog. In fact, in the 4 years living in my house, I have never taken a walk around my neighbourhood alone, and probably never will. Some of you may read that and think that I'm being melodramatic, but this is my reality. When I'm walking down the street, holding my young daughter's hand and walking my sweet fluffy dog, I'm just a loving dad and pet owner, taking a break from the joylessness of crisis homeschooling. But without them by my side, almost instantly, I change into a threat in the eyes of some people. Instead of being a loving dad to two little girls, unfortunately, all that some people can see is that I'm 6'2", athletically built black man in a cloth mask who is walking around in a place that he doesn't belong, even though I'm still the same guy who wants to take a walk around his neighbourhood. It's equal parts exhausting and depressing to feel like I can't walk around outside alone for fear of being targeted. If you're surprised by this, don't be. We live in a world where there is a sizable amount of people who actually believe racism isn't a thing. I'm going to pause the story on that one. Yeah, lots of people think that racism isn't a thing, or they're not being racist, but I think racism, it comes in many, many, many forms. It's big actions, but also small actions, microtransactions. It's how everyone needs to think about how they treat other people, because they might be being racist without even knowing it. Anyway, so let me share some points. Having white privilege doesn't mean that your life isn't difficult. It simply means that your skin colour isn't one of the things contributing to your life difficulties. Case in point, if it never crossed your mind that you could have the police called on you for simply bird watching, then know it is a privilege that many black people, myself included, don't currently enjoy. Number 2, responding to Black Lives Matter by saying all lives matter is insensitive. All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. Number 3, racism is very real. It isn't just limited to the extreme. So like I said, it isn't just the big stuff. It can be the very, very small stuff that we might be doing by accident. So we have to stop and think about how we treat ourselves and treat each other, because we might be being racist without even knowing it. Number 4, in order for racism to get better, it's important we all use our voices and speak up when we see racism. As for me, I'll continue to walk these streets holding my 8-year-old daughter's hand in hopes she'll continue to keep her daddy safe from harm. I know that sounds backwards, but that's the world that we're living in these days. Many people support these protests against inequality and racism. So you may have seen on the news taking a knee as a symbolic gesture in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. What do children in America think at the moment? If you want to know more about this, Newsround's been really, really good. Newsround has given lots of information on your level so you can understand it, because sometimes the news can be a bit scary. Newsround has been really, really good about telling you about how it's going for people across the world, how children feel about this current situation. This next bit is really important. God created one race, the human race. Human beings created racism. We are equal. We all deserve respect. What can you do? If someone is calling you names or making you feel scared or treating you unfairly, then you can get help to make this stop. Walk away. If someone's being racist towards you right now, walk away to keep safe and don't retaliate or respond. Tell someone what's happening. This could be your teacher, your sports coach, your manager at work. Remember, you can always ask to speak to someone's boss about racism, wherever you are. Keep safe. Walk home from school with someone you know and keep your phone charged. You can call emergency services or Childline, both free calls. Stay safe online. Change your privacy settings. Report abuse on the site or app and block users who bully you or make discriminatory comments or threats. Keep a record, messages, videos, or a diary of what's been happening that can help when you're telling someone about what's been happening, and they can use that as evidence. Keep telling. You may have to speak out more than once about racism or racial bullying. It's okay to tell someone else if you don't feel it's being taken seriously. Find someone who will help. It can take time for bullying to stop. Each school should have an anti-bullying policy which is there to protect you. If your school doesn't help, you can tell the police. Tell the police. If you feel threatened or a crime has been committed, you can report to the police on 999 in an emergency or 101 if it's not an emergency. This is important. How to help a friend who is experiencing racism. So it could be the case that you yourself don't experience racism, but you witness it from somebody else. Perhaps your friend is being upset. Someone's saying horrible things. Here's what you can do. If you see or hear racism, racial bullying, or discrimination, there are ways that you can help. It is not okay to stand by and watch. And that's a really important point. Always do something. If you stand by, you are letting it happen. Offer your support and tell your friends what has happened to them is wrong. Ask your friend if they want to report the incident. You can also offer to be a witness if you feel safe and comfortable to do so. Call emergency services if you need the police or an ambulance to keep your friends safe. Make a note of what you saw and heard as soon as possible. This could be used as evidence or to make a police statement if needed. Speak out if it's safe to do so. Stay calm and be assertive. You could say that you don't agree with racist comments or jokes. Like I said before, racist jokes or comments, even if the person making them thinks they're really, really funny, they are not appropriate and they are certainly not tolerated at Great Missenden School. Like the sign here from this little girl, it says, "We said Black Lives Matter. We never said only Black Lives Matter. We know that all lives matter. We just need your help with Black Lives Matter because Black lives are in danger right now." Thank you for listening. It's time for our prayer. Let us pray. Dear Lord, help us to learn from Jesus who fought against injustice. Help us to fight for those who are oppressed. Help us to open our eyes and to have the courage to stand up to those who are oppressing others and stand alongside those who are speaking out. May you watch over those who we love and those who love us, this day and always. Amen. Lovely stuff. Right, well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. This is a really important point. I don't want to scare you, but racism is everywhere. It's all around us, and it's time for us to stand up and say, we don't accept it, we don't tolerate it, racism is not okay. And to stand with each other and understand that all of us are different, our differences make us special, and those differences should be celebrated. No one should be made to feel less because they look different, or sound different, or come from a different place. That is not okay. If you want to talk about this at all, speak to your class teacher or to your parents. This is a really important point, and I feel like you as the next generation, you have the chance to end racism. Thank you.